Welcome back, guys, to another video. Today we are doing our power rankings for week 11, and I've basically been doing this every other week the past 2 weeks, if that makes sense, or past, I guess, 4 weeks, however you really want to put it there. I'm going to try and get back to doing it every single week. I was going to try spacing it out, so I was going to like change it all, like I said, every 2 weeks. I think I'm going to go back to just every other week to finish out the season because somehow we are already basically into the second half of the NFL season with playoff implications actually coming into play now, which is, pretty wild because the season's gone by pretty quickly. But yeah, just to jump right into it, number 32 is the Panthers. Still, they haven't given me a reason to put them any higher because they're honestly terrible all around and it's incredibly dysfunctional. Very sad to watch. Bryce Young has played poorly, but has also been set up to play poorly as far as the team management goes, as far as the players brought in. It's just been a horrible, horrible fit, and a lot of changes need to be done for them to have any sort of hope going into next season. And then next up is going to be the Giants. Once again, the Giants, and I gotta say, in the offseason, and you guys could go back and check if you really wanted to, I was a big advocate for the Giants. I said that, like, I did not think last season was a fluke. I think Daniel Jones kind of hitting his stride. They got the coach they needed. They brought in Darren Waller. Everything was coming together. And, I mean, since that week 1 40-0 loss, they never got anything going. And it just really hasn't gone their way this season at all. From Daniel Jones going down for some time with the neck issue, bringing in Tyrod Taylor, who did pretty well. Then he goes down, and then Daniel Jones tears ACL, and it's done for the rest of the year. It's just been really, really disappointing. So they're number 31. And then after them is the Patriots. I almost said the Bears. It is the Patriots. Because, honestly, I'm very shocked they are in the position that they're in because I thought they would have made significant changes throughout the year to avoid that, like maybe trying out Zappy from before I continue that thought. Also, I am not saying Zappy is good. I'm not even saying he's better than Mac Jones. I'm just saying I'm surprised they didn't try him out for a few games because Mac couldn't get anything going. So I was surprised to see the Patriots kind of find themselves in this spot midway through the season, but I mean, they're what, 2-9 now, 2-8, like very, very bad. Lost the Colts in Germany, and honestly, Belichick might be gone for this year. So, it is what it is. I guess, lose out, get a good pick at this point. Very bad, but those are my bottom 3 teams right now. And then right after them is the Bears. I almost said that they were, number 20 or number 30. But yeah, they're number, whatever I just said, 29 now. And the Bears are, okay, and first off, credit to them for beating the Panthers because honestly, that was a game where I was like, okay, the Panthers, like, they can win this. And honestly, the Bears handled them with ease, which shows, for one, just how bad the Panthers are, and two, that the Bears aren't quite that bad. They're not good, but they're not that bad. It has really sucked, though, because you need to see something out of Fields this year to give you a reason to continue believing in him and seeing his, development. But he has not played the last few weeks, which really sucks because now you're in a very tough spot going into the draft where you'll likely have 2 top 5 picks thanks to the Panthers. And, where do you go? Do you take a quarterback? Do you trade one of those back for any other players like maybe another receiver? Do you go defense? Do you go offensive line? So a lot of things to figure out for the Bears. I will say, though, that they're in a good spot to continue bringing guys in. They're just not quite there. And I said that in my offseason rankings that I felt they were a 5 to 7 win team and not much more than that. And that they were on the right path, they're just not going to reach it quite this year. And I would say they're on that mark right now, but it just sucks you can't see the whole picture with Fields in there. So some things to figure out, but that is where I have the Bears. And the next team up is going to be the Broncos. The Broncos, though, credit to them for a really nice win in Buffalo against a very good opponent. And look, crazier things have happened. The AFC, everybody's been saying this for the past 2 years, is incredibly competitive. Right now, I want to say, like, I don't know, most of the teams that you would assume have a winning record have a winning record. And then even teams that you maybe wouldn't think would be that good are like 500 or just a game below 500. Other than like the Patriots, they're very, very far down. Other than them, everybody else, including the Broncos, including the Raiders, are honestly right there toward 500. So maybe they make a late season playoff push. I don't know. I think the AFC playoffs are going to be really crazy this year. But yeah, Broncos definitely they've gotten better since last year, especially Russell Wilson. So that's always good to see, but they're just not that good of a team. Next up is going to be the Raiders. And the Raiders, have had a crazy season. I think getting rid of their GM and head coach is the best possible thing they could have done, to be honest with you. And now, 2-game win streak. So there you go. I mean, again, who knows what the rest of the season really has in store for you, but I do think you've at least given the fans some hope, and that's really important because now the players seem happier. It's a change that needed to be done, and though the Raiders aren't a great team, they are low in the power rankings, they've probably made the best effort out of the rest of these teams to at least try and do something to change their season around as far as management goes. And then one thing I will say is they also just picked up Jack Jones from the Patriots, who was recently cut, who could provide them, honestly, as a solid corner. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, that's where I have the Raiders. And then after the Raiders is going to be the Cardinals. Again, not the best team in the world. I actually probably have them a little higher than maybe I even should. But I do think them bringing back Kyler, them having James Conner back and healthy is going to help them out. And they already got a win. I'm a big Kyler Murray fan. I'm not going to lie. I'm very happy to see him back. I think he is their quarterback. So I want to see what they can kind of do the rest of the season. Not playoffs, nothing insane, but I do want to see them at least be a lot better with him in there. And just kind of like I said, win more games, even if it's not them anymore. Just show a significant change having Kyler Murray and your running back in there compared to, Clayton Tune or whoever in there. It's really my big thing for the Cardinals. And then after the Cardinals, it's actually going to be the Packers. And honestly, again, people might want me to have them a lot higher up here. You can definitely make a case of them being probably a few spots up. And if you have them there, valid. Like, I'm not going to fight you on that. I will say the Packers, and you guys could go back and check if you want to, my past power rankings, I really hung them around the kind of top 15 to 19-ish range. I honestly thought that they were going to get things going, and they just really haven't. Honestly, I'm pretty disappointed in them. I did think they would be a bit better in Jordan Love's first year starting, but again, it's his first full year starting, and you're coming off a massive change from Rodgers not being there anymore and Adams not being there anymore. In the past 3 years, the Packers have been a lot going on, and so they're really kind of trying to find new identity there. So I'd be patient with them this year. Okay, oh well, might not be it. Let's see how they kind of progress next year because Jordan Love, again, is a young quarterback, and I do think he has showed flashes of some pretty, nice throws this year. So we'll see if he can continue to do that and maybe even finish the year strong. Next up is going to be the Rams. Again, people might have them farther down. You can maybe have them down here instead of the Packers, anything like that. Again, anything you guys disagree with, comment down below. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts or your personal rankings or a team you guys think I have too high or too low or anything like that. The Rams, I feel like they've kind of come back down to earth. They had like a really nice start, and again, they don't have a bad record per se, but like they're just, honestly, I don't use this word very often, but they're just kind of mid. Like they're not really showing off, but they're not really like, bottom of the league. They're just kind of there. So, I mean, maybe rank them lower if you want to, maybe rank them a couple spots higher. I don't know, but to me, that's just kind of like where they belong right there. And in the next few teams, I'm going to rank all at once. I've never done it like this before. You guys will see why. I have the Saints next. I have the Buccaneers next, I have the Falcons next, and then I have the Buccaneers right here. The reason I want to rank them all together is because this is obviously, other than the Panthers, the NFC South. And because all these teams are so close and this division is so open, I feel like they belong, whether it's even lower or not higher in my opinion, but even lower or right here, they deserve to be all together because these teams are all very, very similar, and in my opinion, all have pretty much the same odds to kind of win this division. Some weeks these teams look great, other weeks they don't look very good, and I mean overall, like league wide, they're not very good, but in their division, everybody's so bad, like they are somewhat decent in that perspective, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna have them all there. Again, any order there, in my opinion, I think works. That's just how I see it right now. I do think the Buccaneers have the best odds in the end because I think the Falcons coaching is completely I don't even know, inconsistent. I mean, just pick a word. Hard to figure out. Who knows? That's just how I see it. So I would honestly have more faith in the Buccaneers because I don't know what the Falcons are going to do. And as far as the Saints go, I just don't think they're as good as the other two. I think they're similar, just not as good. So that's why I have those three teams all right there. And then next is going to be the Titans. The Titans showed a lot of kind of promise with Will Levis whenever he came into the game against Atlanta. 4 touchdowns, the win, all that. And then, Pittsburgh, he plays fine. Titans are okay, lose a close one. And then this past week, 20-6. Not a single touchdown for Levis. The Titans offense, I can't get it figured out. It's just so up and down constantly. So I think they are capable of being good. They have won big games. The Falcons game, that was a big win. The Chargers game earlier on this season, that was a big win. So, and the Bengals win. Like, they are capable, but then you also have like the games against the Saints where they lose there, or like even the Steelers where they're close, just not very good. So the Titans are a very annoying team for me to rank. I've said it all year long. That's what they're going to go for right now, but I don't know really where else to rank them at this point. So they're going to stay there, and then one spot ahead of them is going to be the Steelers, like I said, who did beat this team. And the Steelers, I got to say, look, the fact that they are 6-3 is shocking to me because when I watch them play, I don't think they're very good, but they just somehow manage to win these games. I'm not sure if it's defense. I'm not sure if it's coaching. I'm not sure if it's other teams. Just I don't know. I don't know what it is. Steelers fans, comment down below whatever it is. I think unfortunately it's not going to get Matt Canada fired, which I feel like is what the Steelers need. But look, you're 6-3 somehow, and you're in the playoffs if it was to start right now. So I guess you're doing something right. I feel like that record is a little inflated, but again, that doesn't matter. That's my opinion. At the end of the day, you're 6-3, you're in a good spot, so that's where they rank in my power rankings this week. Next is the Commanders, and again, talking about inconsistent, I feel like the Commanders, at least offense, has got to be on here. Okay, so the Commanders were a team I was very high on going into this year, especially Sam Howell, and I do think he has lived up to those expectations. I don't think they've turned into wins quite yet, but again, it's the guy's first full year starting. He's been pressured a lot. I believe he either was or still is the most sacked quarterback. So again, it's not going to be perfect first year. I think he's shown a lot of promise. I really do. But again, Washington really plays, great sometimes, like against the Eagles, and other times they play very, very bad. So again, very hard team for me to rank, but that's where they fall this week at number 18. And then next is going to be the Colts. Now, the Colts, honestly, I think are definitely in it for their division. Between them, the Texans, and the Jaguars are all, I think, kind of not favorites, but they're all kind of right there to win the AFC South. Yeah, AFC South. So I think the Colts. Again, I've said before, I hate that Richardson got hurt because that's who I really want to see. That's who everybody really wanted to see. So it sucks he got hurt. I think they have played well. They have won bigger games like the Ravens. In case people forgot, one of the Ravens' 2 or 3 losses was against the Colts. So they've won some big games for sure. I do want to see how the rest of the season goes for them, but for right now, they're just kind of hanging in the middle, basically, as in the middle of all 32 teams, that is. And then number 16 is the Jets. And again, I've said this before, that I kept the Jets right here because they weren't winning at the time, but they were in these close games against pretty good opponents. And then they did start kind of winning, and then now they're still not winning, but right there. So I don't know. Let me know down below if I should just drop the Jets down a few. I still have them right there because I feel like they're still a good team. They just don't always come out on top of games that they should win. And even Robert Saleh the other day said that he's not benching Zach Wilson because Zach Wilson honestly isn't playing that bad. And statistically, he's really not. And even the effort to get the ball in the Hail Mary, that was an amazing job by Zach Wilson to get out of pressure there. He should have been sacked, honestly. And he managed to get out of that and honestly give Garrett Wilson a really good chance at catching that potential game winner. So I do think Zach Wilson's got a lot better over the course of this year, especially compared to last year. I think it holds the Jets back, but I do still think the Jets are a good team. I think Zach Wilson is showing that he is capable, or if he's not quite capable, he's showing that he at least at some point may be capable. And I think more time under Aaron Rodgers and learning from him and being mentored by him is really going to help in the long run. So that's where I have the Jets for right now. Next is the Chargers, and again, I said this before, I feel like the Chargers are a lot better than what their record looks like. They have lost some very, very close games. I think it is still shocking that the Chargers head coach does still have his job. I'm not gonna lie, but here we are. So they're still ranked 15th, and honestly, I do think at some point down the road this season they could find themselves in the hunt for the playoffs. But again, the AFC is so competitive. You got to really play mistake-free football down the stretch, get some wins piling up, and I just don't know if the Chargers are consistent enough to do that. I think their highs are pretty high, but as far as consistency goes, I really don't know there. So that's where they're going to go. That's number 15. And then next is going to be the Texans. And I mean, CJ Stroud's just doing it all. I mean, I think especially after this past Sunday beating Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, I think really put him in the MVP conversation as an actual candidate because he is playing very, very well. People have always compared, so far him and Bryce Young because they're number 1 and 2. And I do think Stroud is in a better situation than Bryce Young. But when people say that, I feel like they like overestimate, I guess, the situation he's in. Like, he's not in a good situation. He's in a better situation, but better doesn't mean good, if that makes sense. Carolina is just so bad. Of course, he's in a better situation because any competent team is better than Carolina. So Stroud's in a better position, yes. He does have better weapons, but he's still not throwing to, all pro receivers out there. He's doing an amazing job with what he has. The biggest thing is he's been careful with the football. The turnover in the Bengals game almost cost them. I think that would have been a very big rookie learning moment had they have lost that. I think it still is, even though you won. But, you have to really pay for the mistake there. So Stroud playing amazing football. Texans are very good. I really hope they make the playoffs because, honestly, it'd just be really cool to see, especially for Stroud. So that's what they are. Top 15 for the Texans. And then next is the Vikings. And, again, I had the Vikings, I think, as low as in the 20s at one point. And then Kirk kind of put him back into it. Unfortunately, he goes down, and now Josh Dobbs, kind of the savior right now, keeping Minnesota in the playoffs, actually, as of right now. And he hasn't even played with Justin Jefferson yet. Really cool. Not sure how you couldn't root for Josh Dobbs, to be honest with you. So I think it's really cool to see. I think the Vikings are a good team as well. This year I've said that I thought the Vikings defense is going to hold them back a lot, and I think it has. But give Brian Flores a ton of credit because he does not have the best corners in the world that he's kind of working with. And they're able to stop teams. They beat the 49ers. They went on a big win streak when people were kind of saying maybe they just kind of try and tank for Caleb Williams. So they are really trying to win, and I think it's showing now. They're getting wins under their belt, and I'm really excited to see what Josh Dobbs, I mean, I guess you could call him that, but Josh Dobbs is doing the rest of this season. So that's where the Vikings are. And then next is the Bills, and this is definitely down from where I had them last. I don't think I've ranked them since the Bengals game last week. And then a Monday night loss to the Broncos. And something I said that I had some people in the comments disagreeing with me with in the offseason was that I love Josh Allen's game. I think he's amazing, but he's just a little too turnover happy. And I want to be very clear right now. I understand a lot of his interceptions are not on him. It hits off the hands of receivers. I understand that. But also, he is putting the ball in harm's way just a little too often for someone that is trying to win a Super Bowl should be doing, because you aren't really putting your team in a position to win. You're trying to make the play to get the score, but you're not thinking of, if I turn the ball over here, we're down 2 scores or we're down this. I think his decision making is very just not all the way there this year. I think he's trying to do too much sometimes, forcing the ball downfield for big plays, double coverage, whatever it may be. And again, I understand a lot of that is, and a lot of them have been, tipped or batted, or maybe it was like right in the guy's hands and he dropped it. I totally get that. And I know, just Monday night, one of his interceptions was right off Gabe Davis's hands. But then you also have one where he just kind of misreads the defense, throws it right to the corner before halftime, where it's just kind of like, why would you throw that? So I do think the Bills are in a very tough spot right now. I think it's going to be very hard for them to win the division. And your next hope for the playoffs after that is going to be a wildcard spot. But again, the AFC is so competitive, that's not guaranteed. So the Bills are quickly finding themselves in quite the hole, and they have some very tough opponents coming up. They have to play the Eagles. They have to play the Jets defense. They have to play the Chiefs. They have to play the Cowboys. They're going to get tested, so it's going to be tough. I know Josh Allen is good enough to get through that with some wins. We'll see if he does. The Bills are in some hot water right now. One spot above the Bills is going to be the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks are a great team, and I am excited to see what they do this year. I believe they are top of their division or tied for top of their division with the 49ers. So I want to see who kind of gets that. I'd be surprised if either team missed the playoffs. The NFC is not nearly as competitive as the AFC, so I'd assume if the Seahawks get second in the division, they can probably clinch a wild card spot, or vice versa for the 49ers. Gotta love Geno Smith. I love that offense all around. Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker are a really nice running back duo in Seattle. They're right there. And then next is going to be the Jaguars. The Jaguars went on a nice little win streak and then did just lose to the 49ers. And a not great game for them. But again, I do think they can win that division. I think they're still leading it. So you're still a good team. I would like to see you play a bit better against some better opponents. But again, plenty of season left. We'll see how that kind of progresses for you. So I have the Jaguars at number 10. The number 9 is going to be the Browns. Maybe people would like me to put them a little bit higher after that win over the Ravens. I don't know if you guys have fourth in your top 10 or what. I think they are a top 10 team either way though. Love the Browns defense this year. It's just been absolutely incredible. And come from behind win in Baltimore. Very, very tough. Ravens are a very hot team right now, so it's a very big win for them in a game where Watson played really well in the second half. So good for the Browns. They're number 9. And now into the top 8. And these have been very, very hard for me to rank. So we're just going to jump right into it like this. Number 8 is going to be the Bengals. I think the Bengals are a good team, but they are going to find themselves in a very similar position to the Bills if they lose Thursday night to the Ravens, because they'll then be 5-5 in a very competitive division. And again, if you don't win the division, you have to clinch a wild card spot. But the AFC is very competitive. It's going to be very tough to do. So if you don't win Thursday, I think you need to go on a massive win streak to make the playoffs, which, obviously, duh, you have to win games. But seriously, that's really their only other option, because if you lose this, I would be very surprised they manage to win the division over the Ravens, unless the Ravens collapse somehow. So Bengals are 8, still a good team. You want to have that game against CJ Stroud back, though. That would have been a big win for you. But again, if they win Thursday night, they're one game out of first place. So we'll see what happens. But they are number 8. And then right in front of the Bengals are the Cowboys. Again, maybe people like maybe people like for me to have them. Not sure why I can't talk there for a second. Maybe people would like for me to have them farther up on this list. But again, I just kind of have the Cowboys on the, I guess, back end of the top 10 for me. I think they're still a great team. I had them number 2 for quite a few weeks actually this season. The loss against the Cardinals brought them down, I think, a couple spots. The loss against the Eagles, this past week or last week, can't remember when that was. That was 2 weeks ago, because this past week was the Giants. So, they kind of hurt a little bit, but I think the Cowboys are very good, and CeeDee Lamb's on a tear right now. So good for CeeDee Lamb, good for the Cowboys. I want to see what they do this year, because again, they can go very, very far in the NFC. So we'll see how that goes for them. And then number 6 is going to be the Dolphins. The reason I have the Dolphins here, because again, I think the Dolphins were number 1 for me last time I ranked teams. At a certain point, you have to look at the teams that the team you're ranking have beaten, because, the strength of schedule is very, very important. The Dolphins have not performed well against teams that are above 500. And, at first it's kind of funny, like, oh, it's kind of weird. They haven't, but then it's the point where it's like, well, why aren't they beating these teams that are, have winning records? Like, why are they not winning those close games? So I did drop them for that, because I do want to see them get a big statement win and show that they are good enough to compete with some of the best teams in the league. Personally, I think they are, but the stats also don't lie. They haven't beat a team above 500 since week 3 of last season. So you have to get a big win. You have to, for me to kind of move you up on this. I think the Dolphins are still a great team, but you got to prove to people that you can compete with the best of the best, and they haven't really shown that recently. I think they still can, but they need to show it. So that's why they're there. And then down to the top 5. So I have the Lions 5th overall, which honestly, I'm so happy to rank the Lions here. I think the Lions are such a likable team. Dan Campbell is such a good coach. You have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jared Goff. I love the Lions. Aiden Hutchinson on defense. I really love the Lions. I know it just sounded so dumb naming like the biggest name player in their defense and no one else, but still, I love the Lions. I do think they are very good, and they do have a really nice chance in the NFC to go very, very far this year. So I do really hope they kind of reach that potential. And then after them, I actually have the 49ers. This team was number 1 for me for a while this year. They went on a bit of a losing streak, started to kind of slide, and they did also slide in my power rankings. I think the 49ers are still a great team, but again, let's get back on this win streak, kind of show your dominance once again, because they did beat the Jaguars, and it was a great win, but we got to see more of those to kind of move them back up to that top 3 or top 2 spots. So they're number 4. Number 3 is going to be the Ravens. The Ravens are arguably the hottest team in the NFL right now. That loss against the Browns brings them down a little bit for sure, but overall they're getting big wins. They're blowing teams out like the Lions, like the Seahawks. They've got some very big wins. They beat the Bengals. So I do want to see them beat the Bengals this Thursday to kind of show that they are for real. I think if they lose it, I think you're still a little nervous for them, because that's only a 1-game difference between Joe Burrow, who has played very, very well in must-win games. So down the stretch, you got to worry about that in my opinion, but the Ravens go right there at number 3. And then after them, top 2 are going to be the Eagles at 2 and the Chiefs at 1. And honestly, I'm not even really going to break that down. If you guys have that reverse with the Eagles 1 or Chiefs 2. I totally respect it. I get it. I think it's definitely valid. And they actually play each other this Monday night. So I'm really excited to see how that goes. But that's going to be my Week 11 power rankings. Comment down below whatever you guys have a problem with, whatever team should be higher or lower or anything like that. If you guys enjoy my video, be sure to subscribe to my channel for more NFL videos. I do power rankings every single week. I do my week picks every single week, which will be out tomorrow. I also do Madden videos where we do gameplays, No Money Spent series, pack openings, all that kind of stuff. So thank you guys for watching. I do really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.